Hello everyone, it's Inari, and I've made no secret of the fact that at the moment I'm a bit fatigued with the game, I guess you'd say. The meta's just kind of stagnated into the point where it's Harmony or Great Sword or Soldier Ball, you see in pretty much every game. Been no huge shifts in months, and this month I kind of gave up on the push to rank highly in pro ranks, so I decided instead I'm just gonna mess about. I'm gonna try a load of cards I've wanted to try for quite a while and see if I could accidentally stumble upon something that's actually good. So this is one of the beautiful little messes I managed to make. So this is a mobilization siege Radeyah deck. I've mainly been trying to use Radeyah in each of the factions and just see if there's any way to get it going because I absolutely love this card. I did have Shoop in here, but it was just way too top heavy, so Shoop unfortunately had to go. But Radeyah stays. And so I think the main sort of thing with this deck that you'd probably spot is mobilization, plays a copy of a unit. But considering we're playing a singleton list, everything we play out isn't going to have a copy in the deck, but mobilization has the sort of unique use that we're only really using it with siege. And this also like presents some problems in that if we brick on siege, we're not having a great time. But we run matter for that, so I mean I'm yet to brick it after quite a few games, but it's gonna happen. But like I said, this is a bit of a mess about. So I will go through the deck a little bit, go over like the general game plan, chuck a couple of games on the end. You know the drill with this sort of thing. So the deck list, reasonably standard top end. Like, so obviously we've got Magic Lamp, Valor Ball, Bloody Baron, and Sace are pretty standard, strong Northern Realms cards that you're going to see in most Northern Realms decks. The bonus with Ansace in a Radeyah deck is Engineering Solution or I always forget the name, Tactical Advantage onto Ansace allows him to basically remove anything. Especially Engineering Solution, which you're guaranteed to get by putting Radeyah on the melee row, turns Ansace into a 7 attack with a shield that can duel something. So basically it can remove more or less anything because the worst that's going to happen is it's going to hit back and hit the shield, and it can deal with some massive units, so that's always beautiful to have available. Baron obviously like a mini Erden, and Falabor it's nearly always going to get you some good value. So they're explanations for why these cards are so popular. Radeyah doesn't need much explanation, very strong card, and it's kind of the basis for the deck. That's why we're going singleton to get Radeyah to work. So Siege is the scenario that I'd probably, maybe apart from Horn, I've used the least. And I wanted to try and get it going because I kind of like the idea of getting a lot of siege engines out and this kind of like getting literal engines onto the board and just this setup, like an Exodia kind of setup. So the idea with like mobilization and siege is we play siege, mobilization onto a reinforced trebuchet. We got two trebuchets out. The second one triggers battering ram to come out from siege, and it's a little stronger against bomb heaver compared to the other scenarios. So I personally like mobilization in here. There's probably options to run. You could maybe try even like pincer maneuver or like uprising would maybe work with this, but mobilization's my choice for this. So we run Matter and Alzers purely because we can't brick on these two. Anything else could be bad if we miss like one of these three, but we really can't be missing these two. So Matter to either pull Siege, or if we have Siege, pull Radeyah. And Alzors will always get Radeyah, or if we got Radeyah, it'll then get Falabor. And then if we've got those two, it's going to get us either Matter or Bloody Baron. And if we've already got all three of these, Matter's going to draw us into Bloody Baron anyway. So it gives us a pretty consistent, I guess, almost like a Royal Decree for lower provisions, purely because we're nearly always going to be looking for one of these three, sorry. Not so much Anses. So I really like Alzos, especially because it saves you 2 provisions to use elsewhere. If you can get it working, obviously it's a lot less flexible compared to Royal Decree, so it's not a better card, but it fits nicely in this deck. So the next card is War Chariot, and this is like pleasantly surprised me because it's a very flexible card. It's a siege engine, so nice with siege, obviously. You can just play it as 5 points, give bleeding for 4 turns, so it's playing for 9 points should the bleeding all go through. Or you can just use it as row movement should you need it. And that flexibility is pretty nice because you can kind of hold it back if you feel like you're going to need row movement. So say you're against vampire monsters, or you're against something like Greatsword Skellige, where you're looking for a bit of row movement, you can just save it for that. Or if you're just looking to get the bleeding out, there is that option there. So this is sort of the first crew card, but we're hardly ever going to get crew going, so I don't tend to worry about getting this active because there's not too many soldiers. There's obviously the couple up here, but we're not running too many, and there's not really enough to rely on getting crew active. I mean, if we do get it active, great, but it's not really something we rely on. So we run Anna just because it's a strong 7 provision card. Another little engine, gives a bit of survivability. Your opponent kind of has to deal with it because if you get Anna down and it's kind of allowed to just keep ticking away, you can very quickly end up with some quite big units, and especially if they don't have multiple tall removals, Anna can definitely present a big threat. So the next card is Lacerate, and probably seen Lacerate a lot, especially with Harmony roaming about. But it's extra good in this deck because Siege forces your opponent to stack the melee row, because if they're playing range row, they're giving Reinforced Trebuchet more value. So opponents are sort of pushed towards stacking the melee row, and then you can just lacerate the melee row and get a lot of value from those 7 provisions. So we run a reinforcements as well, because cards you get from Siege are pretty good. Siege Tower, Caraballista, they're all kind of nice cards to get out with reinforcements, and it allows a bit more flexibility considering we're playing a singleton deck, so we are limited to that 1 copy. So being able to access a second copy of a card in a pinch is always nice to have. Occasionally I have used reinforcements on Cintron Enchantress for the bonded ability, get the extra vitality out, but not gonna happen too often, but there's the option there. So next up we have Bombardment, which is pretty nice considering you're getting a lot of siege engines down. For only 5 provisions, you're normally getting more than 5 points worth of value from it. All you really need is 2 siege engines out to get more than the provision cost in points value, and siege on turn 1 will already give you 3, so it's pretty consistent in this deck. It can get a little clunky if you draw it early and you're kind of stuck with it in your hand and you haven't played siege, you haven't got many siege engines out, but overall it's worth running. Not the strongest card, but it's solid. So next we have Boiling Oil, which is just standard, a little bit of removal, damage by 5. The Purify's not too much to think about. You'll sometimes get rid of Vitality or something like that, but it is something to consider with War Chariot, because War Chariot's giving bleeding, and if you use Boiling Oil on a unit next to the bleeding target, it will be purified of the bleeding, so it's just something to watch out for. So next we have Caraballista, which is just a strong 5-point siege engine. Not too much to say there, because it kind of gets seen in plenty of decks. It's just a solid 5-point card, and it's got the Siege Engine tag. Siege Tower, much the same as Caraballista, 7 points for 5 provisions. Very solid card. So the Battering Ram and the Reinforced Trebuchet, we are running for the mobilization. So whenever we're drawing these, we're looking to mulligan them back into the deck, because the aim is to use mobilization after we've used Siege to pull them out. So if we end up with both of these sat in our hand, we may as well not have a leader ability because it won't be able to target anything. So next we have Bomb Heaver, for very obvious reasons. There's plenty of scenarios running around. We have Pella, which is, I would say, underrated, but it's seeing a bit more play at the moment. Purify's just generally strong. There's so much poison floating around, locks. It deals with defenders if you particularly need to get past something. It's just generally a nice little tech card to include when you've got the provisions and the space in the deck list and stuff. And a singleton deck usually has these kind of flex spots, so Pella fits in quite nicely. Mantlet, I actually really liked in this deck. I wasn't expecting much from it. I was really just looking at siege engines, and I thought, well, bit of armor gives a bit of survivability, can't be too bad. And it's actually stood out as pretty strong. Sometimes your opponent will just be looking to remove it because they're kind of scared of that. Oh, he's trying to get armor, like what's he trying to do? So if it sticks, the armor can generally protect you from a lot of the small removal that you'll see. So things like natural selection, tourney gels, things like that. It can just block against that sort of thing, which is always nice. Also against Skellige, it's incredibly good. If you're playing against great swords and they're looking to damage your units for a Wild Boar of the Sea, it's very nice to just get that armor out on your units. Obviously, it is vulnerable to Stunning Blow, but not much you can really do about Stunning Blow. It's in every Skellige deck. So Tridom's a weird one to run. I mainly run it as kind of a little bluff card, because very often your opponent will respect that Tridom can get out of control if you leave it and let it keep getting buffs, and it'll just keep pinging away at your units. So it kind of has to be removed. And because I'm not relying on it that much, if I see removal come out on Tridom, I'm usually quite happy, because say if a natural selection comes down on Tridom, it's not coming down on Anna, it's not coming down on anything off Siege, so I'm usually pretty happy. And if it does stick, we do have like Sintron Enchantress, Radovids, Anna, just to put next to it if we do want to go that route of giving it a bit of a buff and start pinging away at our opponents. So it's not too bad, and especially when there's not too many great options for provisions. So the next one is a Daring Mauler, which just a solid 4 provision card, see in a lot of decks because it tends to be 6 points for 4, so can't complain about that. Sometimes bait out some roam movement as well, so can't complain there either. Sintron Enchantress, again, another 6 points for 4. Yeah, nothing huge to say on the 4 provision cards. They're really just filling space at the moment. Ballista got the Siege Engine tag, which is always nice, and another 6 points for 4 should it stick around for a turn. And then Radovids, which is probably the best 4 provision card in the game at the moment, in my opinion. Again, it's 6 points and 2 armor should it keep its buff. So that kind of rounds out the deck list. In terms of the game plan, we're looking, like most decks, to win round 1, drive past round 2, get along round 3. Obviously that isn't always going to happen. Definitely against things like monsters and Skellige, they can just bully you in round 1, and you're not going to be able to generate enough points to take the round and sort of take control of the match. So luckily this deck can deal better with losing round 1 than a lot of other decks you can try, because we don't particularly need Last Say. Obviously Bloody Baron is great on Last Say against plenty of decks, but apart from that there's not too much in the way of like last say huge point drops that we particularly run, it's a lot of engines with not a lot of tempo really. So we don't particularly mind losing. I have on a few occasions used siege in round 2 as a bit of a counter bleed strategy if it looks like my opponent's going for a quick 2-0 or looking for me to use up all my good cards. I'm happy to play siege if that'll kind of force them into a pass, just to give us that time in round 3. But it's all very circumstantial. Obviously, it comes down to each individual game. But in terms of the bronze cards, we're just looking to play the consistently good cards round 1. So, playing Radeyah's Royal Guard, Daring Mauler, Tridum, Sintron, Enchantress, Ballista. Don't even mind using the siege engines, mainly because I have noticed, and it's something I've considered maybe cutting a couple of siege engines, purely because you never really brick on the siege engines. You're guaranteed to get up to chapter 1 completed with only siege. You don't need any other siege engines in your deck. So there is possibly the option to maybe remove some of these, play some more flexible cards, something to definitely look at. But I personally don't have any issues with completing the scenario, so there's maybe an argument for removing maybe like a Ballista or Mantlet, but of course it comes down to personal preference. But that pretty much sums up the deck. I think the last point I would say is it isn't like other scenarios where you're kind of looking to play it early, get it complete, get your cards on the board. Sometimes you are looking to maybe wait a turn or two if you're looking to get bombardment value. In that, if you have a ton of siege engines and you can get those ready on the board, then you play siege. When it comes around to chapter 2 and you get the bombardment played, it's going to play for more value. Obviously, you have to weigh this up in each situation. But once you've played 2 more siege engines, siege is going to pop the bombardment and you're not going to get any more value from that. So there is always the option to consider maybe waiting a couple of turns if you want to get like a siege tower or a Caraballista or just a Ballista down. But I think that sums up all I really have to say about the decklist and stuff. So after this, be a couple of games. Hope you enjoy it. I'll put the decklist in the description and probably be back for more sort of things like this. I do have a few more spicy Radeyah lists floating about if there's any interest. So yeah, check out the stream, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so as you can probably tell, recording these games a lot later than I did the deck review. Just been having absolute nightmare. Let me just do my mulligans and then I'll get into a little rant. Rid of that. Keep Mauler. Baron's okay, but probably don't want it this early. Looking for some of the lower value stuff. Bombardment's going. Having both of these isn't too great. So I think we'll get rid of that. So play Mantlet here. So I've just been having absolute nightmare. So yesterday I planned to record this video. I got clips for about 4 games, was going to decide on like 2 that I was going to use. The first one, I don't know what was going on with the background noise, sounded absolutely horrible, so that one had to go. Second one was, it was actually against Green Knight, so I was like, oh, that's one I want to get. And me being just so smart about it, managed to cut the recording off at the wrong time, so that was unusable. Another one was, and I'll get into this in a bit, was my webcam messing up, and then can't remember what was wrong with the other one. I think that was the webcam again. And then today I've spent most of the evening trying to sort my webcam out. So lesson to you all: don't skimp out on this shit because I got myself a webcam thinking like, oh, you know, this will be fine, just something to start off with because, as you probably know, not exactly raking in millions of views. I'm not willing to be chucking a couple of hundred or whatever on a good camera, and the one I've got has just, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's like super red. Um, as in, I'll show you now. I've managed to get it to a manageable level, but right, I'll just turn the filter off and you can kind of see what it looks like um, before I like color corrected everything. Like, it's just so red, and I just have no idea. I've tried messing about with my lighting and stuff, so we're settling for this. Not ideal, but it'll do for now, and that's the important thing. It'll do for now. And then yeah, somewhere down the road, I'll get a new camera. I'll probably just refund this one honestly because it's terrible. And it'll all be perfect. But anyway, I'm sure you don't care too much about this rant shit. Yeah, here I'm imagining this is Draug. I've been fine talking about stuff because really this has been pretty standard. I'm just playing out bronzes. Kind of just trading bronzes at this point. I'm quite happy to see GWENT, right? I wasn't expecting to pass this early. Cool. GWENT this early is pretty nice to see. Because I'm assuming this is Draug, especially Adelia kind of tips me off that this is Draug. But that's fine with me. If that's what he wants to do, play 3 cards and then pass on me, I'm not going to complain there. So here we're probably just going to play down to 7 cards in the hopes that he's got an all gold hand. I may just play Matter, in all honesty. Just try and drag the round out a bit, you know, get him to use stuff up if he's got it. But we shall see. That's kind of nice for Falabot if I want to go that route.
We dance, for young is the night.
So I'm going to hold on, because I may just use Anna Stranger next turn. Use Radeyah's Royal Guards, get her inspired. Off the top of my head, he shouldn't have a way to... An easy way, anyway, an easy way to deal with Radeyah. He could have Forbidden Magic, but... Okay. I mean, that's fine, like I say, I'm just playing this round to try and see what I can get out of him, so seeing that gun's pretty nice. Right. I mean, honestly, I'm tempted to pass here, because none of this I particularly want to see gone, because Alzor's at the moment represents Bloody Baron, and I kind of like holding on to Siege Tower. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that, seeing the Falabor gone. Obviously we are going into a long round against Uprising, but I don't want to get into this big battle of playing down below 7 cards and then possibly going a card down and losing the round advantage. So it's safer to just clear it out and everything. Right, so the problem now is Alzor's is questionable on what he'll get, so I could just throw away Bloody Baron, because then I'm going to get it with Alzor's anyway. Yeah. Much rather have reinforcements. Pretty good. And I'm probably just going to be playing out, where is it? Siege, turn 1. Especially now. Can take away the Inspired from that. I know I did speak on the fact that you can hold off a little bit for value, but I feel like considering the number 1 threat, assuming he is Draug, is They typically put it on the range row if they're using like Caravan Guard, but the threat is him very quickly getting a lot of humans on the same row. So I'm happy to just use the siege here, and kind of at any point I can trigger that. Philip is pretty good for him. God, that's bad though. So what are we doing here? Guess we're just battering ram, triggering the battering ram, and then what? Guess for the Anna. I don't mind just using this to kill the Philippa. Pretty clean. Just play Anna. And then should I want to, I can use Radeyah to get the inspired bonus on Anna, but can't see myself doing that, in all honesty. Obviously scared him a bit. So what are we doing here? Could just play Siege Tower, but feels a little weird. But have I got any other good options? I guess it's just Radeyah, really. Get the engineering solution ready. I can just play Ansace at any point now and basically deal with anything he has. I'd imagine next turn I'll probably be playing like Siege Tower or War Chariot just to get the bombard off. No use in delaying it any longer. I'm probably just going to be using reinforcements onto Siege Tower, I would imagine. Because I can't see reinforced trebuchet getting much more value, and in all honesty I won't be surprised to see it removed now. But we shall see. And corrected. Played into it. And I'm fine with that. Because it sets me up very nicely to do this. So he's obviously trying to set up for a Draug. I think anyway, I could be completely off base here. He might just not be Draug and I'm completely missing it, but I'm suspecting Draug. Because you don't run Radeyah and Caravan Guard unless you're running Draug, so yeah, if we can limit how many humans he gets out, that'd be pretty good. Guard. So a siege tower represents 7 damage from the bombard that'll come out. Seems reasonable. Nice. High rolled that, removing one of them. So this is kind of how you deal with like Draug decks. It's just don't give them a good Draug. Obviously this deck is pretty great for that, considering it's kind of a bit of a memey deck. It's definitely able to kind of deal with these swarmy kind of decks. But that's pretty much all it can do. You're not going to have a good time against most meta things, but yeah, you'll sometimes get games like this, so can't complain. Bloody Baron. Interesting choice. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. Okay. Can't complain about that one. Right, so going to the next one. And next game we got a mobilization. So I'm not expecting a mirror match, but would be interesting. It would definitely be interesting to see. Again, I'm probably expecting Draug, to be honest. Because when I play Draug, I do run a mobilization list because you can just cheese out another Revenant. Lacerate's a bit clunky. Yeah, I think I'll get rid of Lacerate. Right, what are we doing here? I think we're probably just playing Tridum in all honesty. Just get that down. Gives me the option to Sintra and Enchantress. I mean, I can't even Anna this turn if I see this as having potential to cause some problems. That's interesting.
For king, for country, for freedom!
Right, so... I mean, do I have range? That's interesting. Alright, so obviously I've got some, got a fellow person who's not too interested in meta things at the moment. Which I like to see. It's very nice to see. So what am I looking to do here? Could just Anna. That feels like a bit of an overcommitment. I think War Chariot is probably the choice here. Just turn that offline. Because if I allow that to keep going, we're gonna have a lot of problems. Right, okay. Okay, I see what's happening. So can we deal with that easily? We could just unsace, but that just doesn't feel good. I think we just matter.
This dance you will never forget.
Because he's not particularly got much in the way of good targets for Revenant. I guess he can use things like boiling oil or something to set it up, but I shouldn't jinx this. I shouldn't jinx this sort of thing. But this is fine.
Resistance to fire. Mere child's play.
I could just play Anna. I think I'm fine playing Anna. Tempers me ahead. And of course, it does. So I was going to play Enchantress, but I feel like Anna's a little better. It's same points, but next turn I can Enchantress onto Anna, get the Inspire going, and then it's much bigger of a threat. Which I'm not going to complain about. So have they changed that? I swear it used to work in the inspired effect from right. Because I swear it works like that with Drummer. You play Drummer next to Anna, triggers Anna's Inspire, triggers both. May just be that Vitality doesn't work like that. But oh well, we may be passing on even here, which is kind of sad. But I don't see too much of an alternative. Guess we can just play Siege Tower. Because he's obviously still committing, and if he chooses to pass on me, like, I'm fine with that, because I can take the round very easily. Yeah, I'm a bit confused about that. Vitality must trigger last then. Didn't realise that was how the ordering worked. But you learn something new every day. So I'm definitely going to pass here. Yeah, this is... I guess I could Fallow Ball. Fallow Ball plays for 12. He can't pass on me. No, no, it's not worth it. Yeah, I'll just mute that. Now I was considering Fallow Ball, because it would put me even. But yeah, it's a bit too bit too much of a commitment, and obviously it's not ideal to be passing on even, but what can you do? What can you do? As I'm probably going to play Mantlet, assuming he dry passes on me. May not, but oh no, it's an 8 cards, isn't it? No, it won't be dry passing on me.
For this most beautiful of maidens, I shall fight.
Alright, so at the moment, Alzor's is going to get bloody Baron. There's no point me doing that yet. So we'll just have to see what he does here. I don't... Okay. That's fine with me, so that plays for 5. What's enough? Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Obviously, card down, not ideal. Gets double last save, but we'll just have to see. And I'm not planning to just only put in the winning games or anything like that. If this is a loss, it's gonna be going on the tube. Don't worry. So again, I'm considering just mulling that away. But to pick up what? I guess it's definitely getting me Carablister. Yeah, I think that's fine. Of a hand, it's fine. Not the best hand, but it is what it is.
When I do the tenderizing, there's nothing left to fry.
I was only thinking about getting another siege engine, but of course, I run the risk of then drawing into battering rams should I want to mobilize it out. But I was thinking about, if I can get Carablister or just Ballista to trigger siege, but I'll just get it from Alzur's. So it's not a problem. Right. Assuming this is going range row with Caravan Guard, this would be a good turn to play siege. Definitely.
There are things in the universe of which even the sages have
Melee.
Our path over the earth by stars in the night sky is guided.
Surprising, but fine with me. Right. I mean, we'll play siege anyway. Here. Do we want to use the Mauler? No, I think we hold the charge on the Mauler. I was kind of hoping to get a Lacerate, and even more so now that he's playing melee with it all. Not too bad, not too bad. Right, so we can just Falibor, in all honesty. Right, so if we Alzor's out the Carablister, then we're going to get a bombardment for 7. So he's got 10, 7. Close to a board clear, and close is good enough for me. Fine by me. Gives me a clear next turn. So next turn it might be Falibor. Just depending on what comes out now.
Stay true to our way, we must always.
What are we doing here? So we can remove... We can just remove Radeyah. I think it's probably best if we... we're not in any rush here. Oh no, obviously, Mauler is very susceptible at the moment. If he chooses to go with the usual Revenant nonsense. That will live. This might be a fallible turn. Fallible hits that down to 4. And Sace can deal with that. Yeah, I think we're just fallible. I'm just really trying to keep the amount of revenants down. I'm not like, I am obviously concerned that this is at 1 health, but not in a I need to deal with this turn. I do have the sort of leeway to wait a little bit, mainly because he's used mobilization, so hopefully it shouldn't be coming out with I always forget the word, with Zeal. I reckon Ansace, just to remove one of these, is probably best here. As this is getting to the point where we're probably going to see Draug next turn if he's got it, so the more we can get rid of, the better. And I don't want to be playing Baron, because the bleeding will be very nice, but we won't be getting any bleeding value. Oh. So we can just boil in oil that, which is not a problem. I reckon reinforcements is probably going to come down on Carabalista next turn. This is kind of why I was running Lacerate, is like, you get these situations where melee row just gets so stacked. Right, in this case, we can just get rid of that outright, can't we? I think we play Radovids though. Get Radovids down. It does set us up in a nice position where we can bloody Baron in the melee row, and use Radovids to buff that for the bleeding should we want it. Okay. Again, this is why I want swipe. Really just want swipe for this situation. Just get another Carabalista down. I think we're going to see Draug next turn, but we delayed it enough that he's just not going to get much value out of it. Obviously not ideal, this situation, but it's sometimes the best you can hope for. Because this could have been happening a few turns earlier, which would not have been nice. Now the question is, how much do we care about the bleeding? Because we could just stack this up to reduce his chances of being able to deal with it. But realistically, I think he's probably going to find a way to deal with it anyway. So I think we'll just do that. I mean, I am just now noticing that we're very susceptible to Igni, but I can't see this deck running Igni. And now I'm wishing I used down the Trebuchet. But I think that's a Voimir. So if that's Voimir, Voimir will play for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is it a Voimir? Fallible, okay, Fallible. Off the top of my head, I can't count this. It's going to be very close. Might just take this. Yeah, it takes this by 1, I think. That feels bad. Does he take it by 1? Or did he just... Oh, it takes it by 2. Okay. So yeah, that's definitely a good highlight of the deck. It's definitely not super refined. There's definitely room for mixing this deck up a little bit. There's a few changes that could be made. But I hope you enjoyed those games. There'll be more to come. Got plenty of dodgy decks sitting about, ready to get a bit of a run out. So I'll catch you on the next one.